Much to the quiet dismay of many in her own party, MAGA cultist and Republican Congresswoman Lauren Boebert is forcing a chamber-wide vote in the House of Representatives on whether President Biden should be impeached. Intrigued? Then click that like and subscribe and enjoy the video. Lauren Boebert, who recently won re-election, I think on a margin of like 500 votes, it was razor thin, is deciding to take on the duly elected President of the United States by issuing what is, I believe, the 15th or 16th attempt in 2.5 years to bring articles of impeachment against President Biden. Now, what makes this one a bit different from other attempts is that Lauren Boebert is using a privileged article. She's basically using a parliamentary trick to force a vote on the matter. So there will be a full chamber-wide floor vote on whether or not President Biden should be impeached. I want you to hear it straight from her mouth, and then we will dive into some of the reactions to it. And it's just you just need to hear it. Let's go from there.
To seek recognition.
Mr. Speaker, pursuant to Clause 2A1 of Rule 9, I rise to give notice of my intent to raise a question of the privileges of the House. The form of the resolution is as follows: H-Res 503, impeaching Joseph R. Biden, Jr., President of the United States, for high crimes and misdemeanors. Resolved that Joseph Robinette Biden, Jr. is impeached for high crimes and misdemeanors, and that the following articles of impeachment be exhibited to the United States Senate. Articles of impeachment exhibited by the House of Representatives of the United States of America in the name of itself and of the people of the United States of America against Joseph R. Biden, Jr., President of the United States, in maintenance and support of its impeachment against him for high crimes and misdemeanors.
So there you have it. That was probably the most sophisticated sentence we've ever heard from Lauren Boebert, so kudos to her. How did people react? Well, according to her peer, Maxwell Alejandro Frost, I'm on the House floor, and Boebert is introducing articles of impeachment on President Biden. I see even Republicans rolling their eyes, LMAO. That's not exactly surprising, because the fact of the matter is, believe it or not, even within the Republican Party, who probably, if they could snap their fingers and get Joe Biden out of office, they understand that this stands no chance of passing the Senate, right? So you can, if I remember correctly, successfully impeach a sitting president in the House of Representatives with a simple majority vote, which the Republican caucus does have in its full members. But in order to convict, you need a 2/3 majority in the Senate in a trial, which of course they would not get. So, and this is also emblematic of the internal dissent within the Republican Party. See, Lauren Boebert, as you may recall, is not a moderate member of the Republican Party, even though the Republican Party in general is crazy these days. She's part of the even crazier wing that we call the Freedom Caucus. And right now, the Freedom Caucus, which includes Matt Gaetz, Lauren Boebert, Paul Gosar, and others, they are really, really upset with not only Democrats and President Biden, obviously. They're also upset with Kevin McCarthy, because Kevin McCarthy agreed to that very relatively pro-Biden, I should say, relatively pro-Democrat debt ceiling deal, okay? The Freedom Caucus wanted Kevin McCarthy to stand their ground and risk a national default and, basically put the screws to Biden. And instead, the deal he negotiated basically gave Republicans nothing, and it was relatively painless for Democrats. So right now, the Freedom Caucus is upset at Kevin McCarthy for giving President Biden a political win, and they're also trying to lash out at President Biden over the recent federal indictment of Donald Trump, who is the cult leader of the Freedom Caucus. So it's extremely unlikely, again, that this will pass. You even have members of the Republican Party in the House who clearly don't support it, just not only based on Representative Frost's tweet, but also reporting in Axios. I don't think that impeachment is something that should be taken lightly. Biden District Representative Nick LaLota said last week, I think the House should only impeach when it is likely to have votes in the House and Senate, okay? And then it cites the fact that there were a few attempts by Democrats to force votes on impeaching then President Trump, but most Democrats joined Republicans in voting against those resolutions until, of course, in 2019 and then in 2021 after the January 6th insurrection. But other kind of reflexive attempts to just kick Donald Trump out, even most Republicans didn't back it, or most Democrats didn't back it. So this is, again, kind of a situation where we see the radicalization of the Freedom Caucus, because again, 2.5 years, 15 attempts to impeach Joe Biden. That's escalatory in the extreme, even when you compare it to the Trump administration. But beyond that, it's also proof of the fractions and schisms within the Republican Party, because again, the Freedom Caucus, they're very upset with Kevin McCarthy and want to do things to embarrass him. So this will absolutely fail. I'm not even sure that it will pass. I doubt that it would pass the House, because you can expect that every Democrat will vote against it, and it sounds like many Republicans will as well, even if they would love to impeach and convict Biden, but they just don't want the humiliation of passing an impeachment that will then go to the Senate and be a spectacle and fail. So we'll see what happens, but it makes you wonder if we're 2.5 years in and we're already at 15 attempts to impeach President Biden. I wonder what we'll get to by this time next year when it's 3.5 years. Food for thought.